Yes, let's first introduce the Turkish Delight. Yes, please.
British media have called him, look at me speaking with my mask, it really is a new normal to host events like this, isn't it? So the British media have called Mr. Neşet Koçkar the Turkish Delight because he has become now the second biggest tour operator in the world after acquiring Thomas Cook.
Yes.
Incredible, what an amazing story that is. So we're going to hear now about the secrets of Turkish Delight. Mr. Neşet Koçkar, is he live with us now?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Can we get the Neşet Bey on live, please? Neşet Bey merhabalar İstanbul'dan.
Merhabalar.
Evet, herhalde ufak bir bağlantı problemi yaşadık. Şimdi hanımefendinin dediği gibi Turkish Delight, yani Neşet Koçkar gerçekten dünyaya baktığımızda hem ismimizi hem kimliğimizi hem de bizi anlatan bir lider olarak tanımlıyorum açıkçası ben şahsım olarak sizi. Çünkü turizm sektöründe bir hikayenizi okumuştum. $200 Moskova'ya gidip, Rusya'ya gidip, pardon özür dilerim, $160 Moskova'ya, Rusya'ya gidip arkasından milyar dolarlık bir şirketi, daha doğrusu bir yapıyı hayata geçirmek. Gerçekten bu başlı başına bir başarı hikayesi. Bence pandemi öncesindeki sorunlara gelmeden önce bence bunu inanın şu an ekranda bizleri takip eden seyircilerimiz de var. Bunlara şöyle kısaca bir özet.
Can we briefly summarize the current situation? You said 160,000, for example, as a number.
160, not 1,000. It was just 160.
We wish to hear it from you, this story. Could you briefly cover it?
Okay. First of all, I prefer to speak Turkish. Is it possible, I think? Yeah? Okay. Yani şimdi tabii bir şeyler olduktan sonra...
Of course, as things happened,
geçmişe dönük efsaneler yaratmak kolay iş.
it is easy to create legends referring to the past.
Ben çok tarzım olmadığı için... Yani
Since it's not my style to create such legends,
burada gerçek var, öğrenciyim.
I wish to say I was a student
Ve kendi adıma bir iş yapmak istiyorum.
and I want to make something for myself.
Babamdan bana kalan da bir iş yoktu.
Since I had no heritage, maybe it was my luck that was the heritage.
Ve o dönem Rusya'ya...
And back then, Russia, for example,
Gerçekten bu işi yapması gereken rakiplerimizin gideceği bir
we had competition that wouldn't take risks regarding the environment.
Şimdi hayatta
Now,
biliyorsunuz, doğru zaman,
as you know,
doğru yer kavramı var.
there's right time, right place in business.
Benimki öyle oldu tahmin ediyorum. Yani,
Mine was that, I guess. At the right time, in the right place.
hikaye gelişti.
We could say the conditions forced your hand. Of course, the story developed, and
Şimdi ben de geri dönüp baktığımda gerçekten
when I
bazı şeyler bana da
look
çok
back, honestly, I consider
inanılmaz geliyor.
pure luck, pure amazing luck.
Ya bunu ben anlatabilirim
This,
ama başka
I
bir
must
konu-
say, it's a unique story for some other day. Let's go back on topic. Let's say that Mr. Recep, you're world's second biggest operator, and Anex Tour has gained momentum, especially during the pandemic and in 2019. And the pandemic that began on March this year, what happened in the traveling industry? What has changed in your life? And in the following procedures, with the vaccination claims and serialization happening soon, how will it proceed? Many operators, many hotels are waiting for your declaration.
Evet. Şimdi bir kere
Of course, firstly,
şunu belirtmekte fayda var.
We should point this out.
Yaşanan pandemi olayı
Life
açısından
and pandemic has
ilk tecrübemiz oldu. Hiçbirimiz böyle
been a
bir şeyle
first for all of us.
karşılaşmadığımız için de ne yapacağımızı bilmiyorduk. Yani bu
Of
herhangi bir
course, we
krize
didn't know what to do. It was like a crisis.
Bu krizin iki tane diğer bütün krizlerden farkı vardı.
Aside from other crises, we had two major points.
Birincisi bütün dünya bundan etkilendi. Yani bölgesel bir şey.
Everyone got affected. It was not something regional.
İkincisi de ne zaman biteceğini hiçbir zaman
Second of all,
bilmiyoruz.
we don't know when will it end.
Yani örnek veriyorum şimdi bir kriz
For
vardı.
example,
Birisi
there's a
en az
crisis
bir yıl
that might happen that may take a year.
keza 2016'da Türkiye ile Rusya'da
For example, in 2016 there was a crisis between Turkey and Russia,
ve bu sadece Türkiye etkiledi.
and this only affected Turkey.
Biz o zaman neyi biliyorduk? Yani Türkiye'ye
Then we
çalışamıyorduk.
knew that we couldn't work with Turkey, but what about Thailand?
Ya da o dönem
Or, for example, back then,
politikacı
With-
dostlarımızla görüştük.
we had some politician friends and they said the crisis will be over soon. Of course, we see. Can you hear us, sir?
Evet,
Can you
şu
hear
an-
us? Now I can. Yes. Of course, we hear you clearly. You may continue.
Dolayısıyla en büyük sıkıntımız bu
Because
pandemi
of this, in the pandemic, our biggest concern
döneminde. Bir ay
is
sonra mı? Bir ay sonra mı?
we always
Sonra
think
mı?
about will it last a month or 2 months? We don't know when would it end.
Ve
And
kendi adımızda çok net tedbirler ve kararlar alamadık.
we couldn't take solid precautions. What is your foresight then? Back in March, we said the vaccine will be found. Back on March, we would say the vaccine would be distributed. Would it mean our life would return to normal in terms of travel?
Şimdi bir şey
Right now,
kabullenmek lazım. Bu pandemi
We should accept one fact, and that
her şeyi
is
çok etkiledi. Bütün sektör.
it has affected everything,
Yani havacılık başta olmak üzere.
be it air travel.
Bizim işimiz
What
çok fazla
about
etkiledi.
hotels?
Havacılığa bağlı. Biz
We were reliant on air travels and hotels.
en basit örneği şimdi borsalara baktığımızda
For example, when you look at the stocks,
birçok şirketin değeri neredeyse
we see many companies floor, tank the value, but
Yol olsun. Hala seyahat
many
olsun,
companies
oraya
in
gelen-
travel industry hasn't gained its old values.
Dolayısıyla
Mr. Neşet, another question then.
aşının bulunması
With the vaccination, I believe,
benim düşüncem
in my
bunu
idea,
hemen çözmüş.
won't solve the issue overnight.
Bu dönem değişen bazı
In this period,
alışkanlıklar devam ediyor.
some of our habits that have changed,
Yani şimdi nasıl
I
söyleyeyim? Yanlış
wish to
bilmiyorsam,
give it as an
yola
example.
çıkıyoruz.
Example
Araç
over
fiyatları,
Turkey,
araba
the
fiyatları çok arttı.
vehicle prices have increased rapidly. Even the second hand has
Neden?
increased in price
İnsanlar
because
kendi
people
kendi
wish
ekonomik boyutlarınca artık
wish
private
to
olmak
travel privately within their economic limitations.
istiyor. Yani bu her şeye yansıyacak.
This would reflect on everything.
Ben bizim çözümümüzü aşı değil de
I believe our solution won't be a vaccine but a permanent medical solution
ve zaman.
and time, of course.
Eğer hani spesifik olarak
Of course, specifically on March when the virus was first emerging,
nasıl bir sezon bekliyor diye merak ediyorsanız,
We were guessing what kind of season would happen.
2021 Mart'ta
On 2021 March, let's pretend that the situation would be solved.
ciddi bir turizm hareketi olacaktır.
We will see a serious movement in tourism.
Fakat
Wonderful.
son dakika olacak.
But it will be a last minute development.
Evet, yani misafir bu yıl da öyle oldu.
Of course, sadly, this year was also a last minute in terms of recovery.
Fakat 2022'den
But
itibaren
after 2022,
eskiye döneceğimizi düşünüyorum.
I believe we will be going back to usual.
Ve bu dönemde yani
And
Türkiye burada
in
bence
this
bir
period, I believe Turkey has done great actions.
bizim belki toplam hareketi
Maybe
düşebilir.
our total actions may decrease,
Ama bizim payımız artacak.
but our rates will increase.
Rusya ile ilgili bir örnek verebilirim.
I can give an example over Russia.
Bu sınırların kapalı olmasından dolayı
With
birçok Rus
borders closing down, many establishments have suffered
mecburiyetten parantez içinde kendi
because
sahillerine
they were
yöneldi.
forced and focused on their domestic areas.
Misafirler kendi
Russian
sahil kenarlarına
tourists
gittiler tatile, örnek veriyorum.
have went to their
Soçi,
beaches, Sochi or Crimea, for example.
I cannot hear you.
I can hear you without problem. You may continue.
Peki ne
Yes.
oldu? Peki
But
ne oldu?
what happened then?
Tabii talebin de oraya çok ani
Of
bir
course, with
artışından dolayı
demand
inanılmaz
increased
fiyatlar
over there
verdiler.
rapidly and
Konaklama
prices
yaptılar. O kadar
skyrocketed.
ucuz kaldılar ki zaten
They were desperate
servis olarak
enough
size rekabet edebilecek
as a
bir
service to they couldn't compete with us. Thus, with abnormal prices,
bu misafir
they offered terrible
normal kıymetinin daha
service,
fazla. Basit bir örnek.
and tourists realized the true importance of over here.
Dolayısıyla ben
But about the European
arada-
market, and
Burayı bitireyim Rusya'yı.
let me finish the Russian example for now.
Eğer arada herhangi bir kesinti
In
olmazsa,
between,
yani sınırlar
if there's no
kapanmazsa,
cuts happening
sınırlar
or
süresi
borders closing down
gelmesi,
again,
yani sınırı mı açılır,
and
yarım
if
sınırlar
people's
gelmezse,
psychology won't
normal bir talep olacak.
get damaged over the border issue, it will benefit Turkey.
Avrupa'ya gelirsek
If you look at Europe,
açıkça
honestly, we couldn't speak that much honestly, but it's not about tourism movement. There's also a political side to it.
Dolayısıyla benim inancım
I believe
pandemi beraberinde biliyorsun ekonomik bir
with
şey
the pandemic, you know, there was an economic impact.
sıkıntı yarattı.
There was
Avrupa
a
Birliği bunu da aşma adına
problem,
misafiri kendi
and
sınırına çıkartmaya
Europe
çalışacak.
will try to keep the tourists within their borders. Mr. Neşet, another question. Of course, hotels have suffered greatly during this procedure, and as you've said, on air travel, but we also see hotels empty. As an operator, what message can you give to hotel owners? From Turkey to Egypt to Greece to Thailand, you work all over the world. Of course.
Şimdi Bulut Bey,
This,
ben bu sefer şey yapamam.
Mr.
Yani
Bulut,
her yere
I
mesaj veremem çünkü
cannot give the same message to every region because everyone's problems are individual.
sınır olarak Türkiye açılacak.
Maybe borders will open and close depending. But 2022, even for the last minute, it will benefit every country.
Nitekim bu yıl
We have went through 2020 with acceptable results.
tek sıkıntı özellikle artık
Our
oteller,
only problem are smaller
daha
hotels.
yani insanlar
They will suffer
daha fazla
greatly.
para vermeye göze alıp daha
People will
daha güvendiği
willing to
otellerden
take the
servis
risk
alacak.
and pay larger for better service.
Ama bunun
But
ötesinde de
Aside
özellikle
from
küçük
that,
otellere şunu tavsiye ederim.
I would
Küçük otellerin
recommend to small
rekabet
hotels
şartlarından
that
dolayı her şey dahil ve
under
büyük
competition,
otel tarzı,
they
işletmeye
can
dönmüştür. Ama büyük bir
convert
oranda
themselves to
misafir
larger
dahi servis
hotels
alacak.
in terms of
Bunu
administration.
değerlendirmeni tavsiye ederim. Yani
And they will,
böyle ilginç
the
ki,
tourists will
lüks
ask
oteller,
for
iyi oteller ve
large
lüks oteller
hotels,
çıkabiliyor.
luxurious services. The tourists' habits are changing then.
Kesinlikle.
Of course, absolutely.
Pandeminin bana göre en büyük
And the biggest resolution I get from the pandemic is we see tour operators are in demand
yani
again.
çünkü tur operatörü
Tour
böyle bir
operators
durumda misafir,
in
tur
this
operatörüyle
situation
muhatap karşılığını gördü. Yani bizim
has seen the results of interacting with one. We took care of our customers, we handled their situation well, but independent travelers have suffered greatly. Because of this, tour operators are high back in demand, but after pandemic, I believe this will greatly decrease. People have adapted into online shopping, and my biggest fear is for agendas. The pandemic could be a signal, an alarm for tourist agencies. Yes, I can say that. When it comes to hotels, let's go back to hotels. There won't be a major bother for hotels. They will slightly and slowly recover, and by 2022, they will see an increase in prices and in demand. Mr. Neşet, then, as a last question, in 2021-2022 season, what would you recommend to tourists? I know this is a classic question, but pre-reservations, should they restart? People have questions. What will happen if this continues? As a leader of a large group, what is your opinion? What is your recommendation for the end user? No one can claim anything solid because of this pandemic, this disease. And sadly, I'm not happy about this, but we have hurt the nature so much. This COVID may pass in a few years, but another one may emerge just fine. We will suffer from this in long term. We have to learn how to live with it instead of focusing on how to eliminate it completely. We had stress enter our daily life a couple of years, and people said, learn to live with stress. And now I say, we won't go back to normal, but we have to live with it. Let's say this is a part of our daily life now, this pandemic, and the future will have similar trouble. Do you have any last additions? I can say that let's not be all negative, but let's avoid unnecessary depression and continue our job. And we have to prepare for 2021, and it might surprise everyone in terms of activity. And second, sometimes some actions show people that life is short. And how should I say this? Everything's temporary. And as people return back to their daily lives, they will hang on to their life more. They want to travel more. After pandemic, I believe it will be increasing ever more. Mr. Neşet, thank you for joining. Greetings from Istanbul. As Marihan has said, your name in British media is Turkish Delight. I greet you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for this organization.